Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling, as you see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, where we're relaxing as per usual. I'm recording this before the D&D session today, as I tend to normally do now. I think certainly more so on these Wednesday sessions because they've been moved to start at 7:30, so I've got more time, if anything, to do so. It's the first session back for this group as well, and I'm just kind of like, I don't really know what they're gonna do necessarily. I genuinely have no idea what they want. I mean, we'll talk about this in a second. Good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow at 7:07 PM on Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. So it's a bit of a strange situation, which, it is of my own fault because, this is my first long scale DM campaign. I don't know exactly how things pan out. So some things which feel like a good idea aren't a good idea. Some things which are a good idea are a good idea. And me as I think a DM is I'm pretty good at thinking of narrative points through. So I think that all links pretty well. But I think more of a mechanical parts to tie in with those narrative things don't always work. They sometimes do, sometimes don't. But the caveat, the weird thing I'm feeling, not feeling is not the right word, but the weird, sort of almost corner I painted myself into with this group, well, both groups technically, but it's affected one group a lot more than the other, is this sort of adventurous guild I've made. Because I was like, it might be a good way as a signpost for them for when they're stuck, and it's like, we don't know what to do. We can go to Adventurers Guild, and maybe, that can give a sort of brevity to the situation, essentially. The thing I'm finding, though, is that the Adventurers Guild is sort of, in my mind, I was like, it's going to be something which sort of chugs along in the background, and I was like, let's even make a mechanic which works with this, being like, you don't have to continuously do quests to rank up. If you just do one of a higher enough difficulty, it will work. So my mind was like, both parties can come back here every now and then if they're like, we need the resources of this large adventurous guild, essentially. We need to rank up. It's fine, we'll just do whatever quest we have of that level. And it'll be fine. I also forgot we need to chop that orange tree down. I forgot that was one we planted because we accidentally dug up a stump. The thing is, one of the groups has been like, cool, and then promptly never really gone back to the Avengers Guild, which is totally fine. That's not a shot at them or anything. None of these are meant to be shots at my players. If anything, I take it as more learnings as a DM. Which is totally fine because it was, it's a completely optional thing. If anything, it's meant to be more of a signpost, but they've, found different ways to have their own sort of signpost, essentially, or I found it a different way to incorporate it with a campaign. With this group, though, it kind of ended up being more of a major signpost than I imagined. And it's painted me into a corner as a DM where it's just they're like, we want to find some quests. And I'm like, well, I don't have a list of quests to do. That's insane as a DM to be like, okay, I'm going to prepare 30 different quests and you might not see any of them. Because part of me, I'm a very narrative-focused DM. I want things to tie in together with either the main story or one of the character stories or have some sort of relevance. And I feel like it's pretty hard to do that believably for, this quest adventure style thing. There's a real peek behind the curtain. But it's me doing it. It's I'm I have a choice basically. I either force them into certain quests, which, kind of takes away the illusion of choice because it's not an illusion of choice anymore. But I mean, it never really was in the first place, to be honest. It wasn't what I had in mind as a campaign of you're basically hired mercenaries going around doing these sort of things. It was just meant to be a resource of something which would feel believable in the world and they could also rely on if they needed it. And really, I'm not talking out here to complain about my players or complain about the situation. It's more I'm soundboarding basically my own ideas of what's the best way to sort of approach this, what's the best way to incorporate it. Because I think the answer might be it is just fine just to incorporate it as it is. But yeah, the option is I either and it's kind of what I've been doing, is like, okay, I'm basically just going to give you a short list of quests, because while in reality I feel like you'd be returned like quite a few quests to do, most of them are either not relevant, or I'm not interested, I suppose, in running them necessarily, or like, you know, there'll be things like, oh, you know, there's like some monsters terrorizing this area, and then they'll go there, they'll kill the monsters, they come back, and then from a narrative perspective, it's almost like completely neutral. It's like there's no point of having done that, but like it by itself is like not got any bearing on the quest itself, unless the alternative is I make the quests things which have to basically be relevant to either the ongoing like larger plot or one of the characters' plots, which is also what I've been doing, or sort of trying to do. Because it's like, well, I mean, there's only so much time this campaign can plausibly run for, and, you know, these character quests, I'd imagine, are the most important to each of these characters. So to me, I'm just sort of like, oh yeah, that's kind of what makes the most sense to me to do, is like have these quests do it. But I don't know, I think it rubs me the wrong way, because again, it doesn't feel believable necessarily. I mean, I can of course, you know, headcanon in my head, as I said, oh, they get like returned like 500 quests, and then they scan the list, and then they pick up the ones which, of course, the ones which stand out to them are going to be the ones which are of interest to them, which are going to be things which are relevant to their background. You know, one person might be like, oh, you know, that quest might seem interesting, as to do with like the place I'm from, and hence that makes into the short list the players get to choose from, while the characters technically could choose from more. But I don't know, I guess my problem with it is it feels a bit unsatisfying, as it feels a bit narratively stilted, I think, from an overall narrative point. And I think it also is kind of like the worst of both worlds, because I also don't think it's that fun mechanically, is it? I think it would be fun if I, you know, did write out maybe like 70 different quests or something, but the thing is, there's no way 70 different quests, I can come up with 70 quests conceivably linked to someone's story, right, without it just being completely ridiculous. So most of the quests will basically have to be filler quests, essentially, which is fine for some types of campaign, but seeing as this is sort of like a multi-month long scale like epic of a campaign, it feels a bit lame to do that, doesn't it? Right, I don't know, I feel like I would go in with a campaign being like, this is explicitly what we're doing for this campaign, is basically we're tying together a lot of one-shots, essentially. Which, to be honest, I do think 3 of my players that might actually work for. There's another thing, like, completely. But I'm like, I'm starting to know my players pretty well in their D&D campaigns. I'm starting to know exactly what they were. And if I were to go on pure playstyles alone, I would probably restructure the groups a little bit differently. Mainly because some of the players are much more narrative focused than some of the other players. So I think it makes sense that you put all the ones who have a narrative focus in one group and all the ones who don't in the other group, right? That makes sense to me, because then you could have like an episodic D&D adventure where like the time frames no longer really matter. You're just like, you are a ragtag group of adventurers, mercenaries, you have Adventurers Guild. It's basically Adventure of a Week style compared to like a serialized TV show format. And just like TV shows, like I don't think there is a right or wrong or better or worse for any of these styles of like TV series or anything like that. There just is the one which is appropriate for the situation. And right now I'm kind of like trying to do this half in between. The honest answer is probably I just say to my players like, hey, like the Adventurers Guild is not meant to be a plot device for this. Like my intention for the campaign was that you would chase your character in story arcs, which they are, but you know, things have happened essentially. But also I think that's probably on me for not being able to sort of prompt it enough. Like I think it's very difficult as a DM to get the balance right between, you know, the concept of railroading and the concept of open world, right? In the ideal world, the entire thing would be super open world, and the DM would just be always 100% prepared for literally anything that can happen. Players can do literally anything they want, and then that's how it goes. Yeah, you know, if I was like omnipotent or something, I'm not omnipotent. I'm a human being though, and I have only so much time of things I can prepare for. So you know, a certain amount of railroading is needed. And to be honest, for some players, I'm sure that like, not necessarily within my campaigns, but like players in general might like a lot of railroading. Maybe they want to play basically an adventure game on rails, right? Like an RPG where they like go to this place, and then do this thing, and it's the actions of doing the thing, which is fun. And that's totally fair. That's totally fair. But I think with that as well, D&D is not a video game. Right, video games have that limitation because you can't have a person on the other side. It kind of like does away with one of the best parts of doing D&D is of this exercising of free choice. Otherwise you might as well just make a video game, right? Or choose your own adventure book or something. But like if you railroad too much, then of course the players are going to be like, well, but there's no agency in this, right? We might as well be playing a video game. So there's like a soft railroading which needs to kind of happen as a DM, where it's like you kind of have to show your players in a certain direction. Perhaps I've just got it down a bit better on one campaign than the other, or maybe I don't know. It could be a factor of many other sort of things, but I think I'm relying on the Adventurers Guild to be my railroading, and I'm just not. I think this is it. I'm relying on it to be my railroading, which I'm not in the other campaign. The other campaign I'm relying, I think, via NPCs and story beats to be the railroading, and thus I end up being a little bit, as a DM, unsatisfied in my own DMing ability when I'm like, oh, I'm using the Adventurers Guild as a means to sort of nudge my players in the right direction. I think that's probably the core of the issue if I'm to examine it much more sort of thoughtfully now I think about it, which is interesting. I never really considered it like that. Because part of me, people behind the scenes, I'm just like, I wonder if making the Adventurers Guild was like a mistake or something. I don't think it's a mistake because I think it's a very believable part of the world and it makes sense. I just think, it's a learning experience as me as a DM. I'm not using it to its full potential necessarily. I'm using it wrong, essentially. But yeah, I would say like the adventures have been good. From Adventures Guild, I don't know why, because the things that they do, obviously they have been good because they've basically just been like the character quests themselves, essentially just with the sort of guise of it being done under the Adventurers Guild. But it's just more like, I don't know, how would I put it? It feels weird, I think, to me, is perhaps the way I'd put it. It's just, I think it's almost, this is the way to put it, it's like we're playing a video game. I'm unsatisfied with the UI, the menu select screen, but the actual missions when you go into them are quite fun. That's I think the way I'm putting it, I'm like, maybe in this type of game it would be better to have like an immersive hub world or something like that, Mario Galaxy style, rather than just, like a list menu. I'm not saying it's exactly that same sort of thing, and I'm not saying my players are at fault or I'm necessarily at fault. I'm just saying it's more like a consequence of the way things have happened and transpired, which makes it not necessarily a difficult problem to solve as a DM, I think, necessarily, but it's sort of like an interesting thing to, I think, analyse. Like if I were to do this campaign again, and hopefully, there'll be more campaigns in the future, what would I do differently? Well, maybe I'd decentralise the point of the Adventurers Guild, or maybe, I think one thing I would do in a future campaign is I'd probably stretch out the timings of how things work. Be more willing to throw in, you would have like a filler day in here or something. Rather than explicitly calling mechanically, you have a day's rest here or something like that. Because I don't think it really makes sense for adventurers to be like, okay, literally every single hour of every single day they are doing something productive all the time. Obviously it works as players playing it. Why did I say no? Because, they're only they're basically living their lives 3 hours of a day at a time. That just kind of like makes sense from a player perspective. But it gives weird, interesting caveats, I think, as the player and the DM, where it's just like, these characters, they feel like they've been through so much together. We've done like a year and a bit of D&D. These characters have known each other for, I think 2 weeks or something. Actually, I don't think that's quite. I think it's almost a month now. But it's like, it's actually probably more than a month. Some of them. Yeah. Okay. So 2 of the characters technically know each other for a month, and then the other characters know each other for like about 3 weeks, which to me feels like a bit of a narrative dissonance, right? Because the players obviously now know each other's characters pretty well and now are role-playing with characters with a strong bond. But in real life, that's, I think it's pretty fair to, pack bond that quickly, right? But it's also like, that's pretty fast, isn't it? Is that too much? Is that too little? I don't really know. But certainly what it is it is something which could be improved. That's my perfectionism. I think speaking here is not actually that important, mind you. But it's just sort of like a, well, you know, if it could be another way, why not? I suppose. So yeah, I don't know. It's not so much a problem with the concept of the Adventurers Guild, it's the problem with the way I've utilised the Adventurers Guild. I think I put it as too centralising a thing, which makes it become like those monuments, those towers. You know, I can't remember what the expression is in video game terms, but the things which draw players in to go explore this thing when I never should have intended it to be that way. You know, or perhaps I should have intertwined more of a plot. Well, I'm not saying the plot is completely separate from Adventurers Guild, but it was more meant to be like a hub in my mind. But yeah, I don't even know if that's going to be, you know, at all relevant here. But it was something I was thinking about. I love talking about my D&D stuff, and this is a rare thing I think I can talk about because it's not plot related, but it is something I've also thought about a decent amount. Because I'm just like, I wonder if I've just implemented it wrong, I think, in my campaign. And I think the answer is yes. But also, I think maybe the better answer is, it's not that it's implemented wrong, but maybe it's implemented wrong for this kind of campaign. Because I can absolutely see a campaign where it works in. I guess it's just kind of like serialized versus episodic. I don't know, I think it'd be interesting to try a more episodic campaign. One which doesn't have the pressure of things having to have like an overall narrative or arching plot. Just sort of, you go to this one place, do that thing, you leave, and that's it. I don't know, maybe at some point in the future. Anyway, for now I'm going to round this episode off here because we've got about ETA 7 minutes until the campaign starts. So for now, if you haven't been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.